it had to do with us. Natty,
I mean,
very nice.
we did our best. It wasn't the best thing in the world, but we did our best. We tried hard. But it's good to have everybody back today. Look at this full show. Loving it.
Before we go live, are we live? We're live.
Yeah,
we're
I think it's live right now.
Okay, we'll do it live.
We just turn it on, man. This is what
in
we
the
do
middle.
nowadays.
Disregard comment.
Oh. Time to have the show. It is Word on the Street. It's Friday. We got a full boat today. Look at this, all around the block. Let's go around the block. Who's here? We got our man from Chicago, the strongest man in logistics, Robert Bain, of course.
Sir, my title.
Sir.
I get it.
It just doesn't get old. It doesn't get old. Seeing you in a onesie is what I want. That's what I want in my life. Seeing you in a onesie.
Onesie in the power panties, baby.
What? How's everything in Chicago? We got a good Chicago contingency again today. How's everything in the Windy City?
It is a perfect day, man. It is like 73. There is no wind, not a cloud in the sky. It is perfect today.
I don't know what we did to get such great weather, but it has been nice. I don't know what things are like up in Jersey, but we got the man himself, the bodacious cowboy, Jeff Dickinson, in the house with us. I feel like I gotta. What's up, brother? How are you?
I am doing well, my friend. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to see you. How's everything in Jersey?
I'm honored to be in the presence of Matt Leffler.
I appreciate that.
I think we all are. It goes both ways. That's for sure.
One lawyer to rule them all.
We got our man from Minnesota back in the house. Or actually, no, you're not Minnesota. You're South Dakota.
There it is.
South Dakota. That's right. I knew it was close up to there. Tyler Gilbert's back in the house, everybody. From Sports and Logistics. Let's go. Man, we have missed you, brother. Good to have you back. How's everything going?
Been a while. Everything's good. No longer operating under the nickname Freight Jesus. The locks have been cut. Everybody's clean cut. New office, new place to be. Happy to be here.
I know you got the beard trim, the hair's trimmed, the hat's nice and clean. Man, it's like a whole new.
Can
man.
you still be our Lord and Carrier?
Yeah. I got you, man. Don't worry.
Oh, goodness. Hey, somebody who can definitely never hold that title coming to us from the Boston area. McNutt's our good friend Kyle McNutt in the house.
Praise
today.
Satan.
And everybody sing with me. Take it, Matt. Sing it. First of all, I'm only doing that dance. Come on, Matt. Sing the song. You know all the words of Fergie.
I do not know the words to this
Biggest
song.
Fergie Ferg. Come on, Matt. Start singing some Fergie. Come on, Matt. We know you got this in you.
Yeah,
What do you sing the twins to bed with? How do you not put them to sleep?
Let me tell you
Usually
what
it's
I
about
like
a hungry caterpillar who has a very interesting week.
No,
that gets
that's
through
fucking
several
that's
pieces
old
of
as
delicious
shit. Kids
food.
hate that stuff. They're gonna call you a boomer. You gotta sing them London Bridges by Fergie to get the kids to go to bed. Trust me, I got a 4-year-old. That motherfucker won't stop singing.
Let me tell you what I want to
let's
hear.
keep Mitch verticals. Quit trying to tell him Mitch how to
hear
live his life.
John
Mitch is beautiful.
Redvansky, thank you, my friend. Thank you. Always
John,
love John Redvansky.
Hey, so here's what I want. You guys know this. You may not know this, but you probably do know this, that Matt Leffler has the greatest poetry voice probably in the industry. Maybe anybody you know.
Radio.
I'd like to hear Matthew record some Fergie poetry with the voice. That's what I want to hear. I want to take a song and just read it, just like you were reading one of your poems that you do, man. That's what I want to hear. That's where we're headed with that.
Let's have Matt do the llama llama red pajama challenge. Can you do that one, Matt?
I don't know that challenge, but it
What
sounds
you
like
do, Morgan. You get the
That'd be
sickest
certainly
beat.
interesting.
Banking on it.
I do have a poem that I have prepared for today. If I can.
Well,
go
we're
ahead
going to
and
get
just-
to that. You want to do it
Okay.
now, or do you want an intro? We haven't even introed you
You
yet.
go ahead and
I mean,
intro me.
geez.
I'm ready to roll whenever you are. man.
Well,
Full
you're
intro.
towards the end because you're the special guest, so you can't, you got to wait your turn. All right, coming to us also from Chicago, from R2X, the man himself, Mitch Kowalewski in the house. Vertical today, going vertical.
Guys, come in.
Who is-
Come on in. It's Friday. Go on the road. Great. What's
I'm
up?
not even going there.
What is that you have? Where did you get that?
You don't want to know.
I'm
Act
rolling.
like you don't have a Barbie head tray for hair dye.
Guys.
Life-size Barbie head?
Trade market is really bad right now, right? It's called diversifying, right? So I'm just getting ready. I'm on my phone like a jackass because I can't get audio on my laptop, so I'm boxed
Oh man.
in.
Do you have a MacBook or do you have a PC? This could
I'm
be a
gonna
problem.
fire up a Mac in 20 seconds here.
Yeah, you need to fire up a MacBook because you won't have that issue. That's for sure. All right, our special guest today, coming to us from Chicago. You know this guy as the Armchair Attorney. He's also the host of the Fleeting Conversations podcast and the president of Leffler Technologies. The one, the only Matthew Leffler. Yeah, just stare and look beautiful, my friend. Just stare and look beautiful. Yep, that's right. That's all you got to do. It's all you got to do. What's up, man? How are you?
'Tis true my form is something odd, but blaming me is blaming God. Could I create myself anew, I would not fail in pleasing you. If I could reach from pole to pole or grasp the ocean with a span, I would be measured by the soul. The mind is the standard of the man. Thank you for having me back. I'm so excited,
Love
Trey.
him.
Always
That was-
a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for
That was
that.
impressive.
I mean,
I feel like we need
I'm
some
saying-
kids to say thank you to that. That was wonderful. Nice job. That was so
Fergie
good.
Ferg
Well done.
at one point spelled out her name, Matt, and you didn't bring that to the table. So I'm still going to give the nod to Fergie Ferg. If this is
I
the
have
Olympics
room for
of
improvement.
poetry,
This is what I'm a man who
Fergalicious.
believes in continuous improvement and innovation. So for me,
Yeah.
knowing that I have room to continue my path, I'm very excited for that.
Person on
I
top,
assume that's how you
he
got
hit
into
excellence.
poetry, too.
Well, I'm excited. We've already gotten some poetry out of you, Matthew. I'm telling you, like, this is probably one of my favorite things is listening to you just share poetry. It's weird. I can't even believe I'm saying
I'm
this.
really hoping that's Mitch's forehead.
What I would
I love this Mitch forehead.
for folks to know this, this is really something I love to talk about. I don't talk about it enough, but when I was a young man, when I was a kid, very young kid, I had a very significant speech impediment. I had a stutter and I had vocal nodules that made my voice very, very difficult to understand. And so I was bullied relentlessly. The nickname that I had kind of gotten was a thing called Duck Call Boy. And it was one of the gifts that God has given me was my voice. And I was so deeply ashamed of it for most of my life. And it took years of speech therapy to overcome the stutter. And so to this day, when people compliment my voice, it is something that is very hard for me to fully understand and appreciate because it is something that has been part and parcel to my existence for such a long time. So I really appreciate when people say, hey, you sound like you're a reasonable person, because that's what I go for.
You've turned a challenge into an incredible asset, my friend. So well done to you in that
Amen to
regard.
that.
Now, before we start
Great.
the
Scott
rest of the
showed you
show
his
here,
long-
we got to
intro.
understand this.
Yeah.
Maybe he's
he wants
upset
you to
that
know
we have.
he's here, so he showed you down
That's right.
because we know how horny you are because Matt's on this show. So please introduce Scott. Okay, come on.
I
Yeah.
love the phrase sensei.
Maybe he just wasn't, wasn't happy that I haven't played his music yet. Maybe that's the problem. So I guess we should do that. Coming to us from Boise, Idaho, Armstrong Transport, one and only Freight Sensei, Scott Watanabe in the house, everybody. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That shirt is fire. Let's go. Yep, 20. Come on, Tyler.
I'm doing math. Wow.
And 100%
Remember the name.
Hey, what's up, buddy? Hey, Scott, did you know that you made our Olympics tribute video?
I did.
Did you know
I
that?
liked it and I shared it. That's hilarious. I didn't know if it was going to make it, but I was like, oh, there it is.
We may have to play that again as we talk about the Olympics later in the show. It's just too good to miss. Juan's golf swing is epic and worth seeing again, that's for sure. So we'll have to throw that back on. But as we get started today, Matt, listen, you are the topic of discussion for today. You are the man. I wanted just to throw a word out there, one word, and see what this does to you. Or actually, maybe 2 words. How about a 2-word phrase just to see what happens? Okay, I want to get your reaction to this. Chevron deference.
Oh, we're not talking
Let's
about
go.
lubricants. We are talking about one of the most controversial cases that has ever happened. And for anyone who's watching this or listening to this right now, you have to understand that the overturning of Chevron in the case called Loper Bright is perhaps the most important Supreme Court case in your lifetime. It
Why,
is
Matthew?
absolutely
Why?
in mine. So you have to kind of go back to what the framers built when they built the Constitution, the 3 branches of government with separation of powers and checks and balances. And then you have to kind of understand, after the New Deal kind of been put in place through FDR, this new type of thing came to be. This was the administrative agencies that were designed to create their own rules, enforce their own rules, adjudicate their own rules with very little oversight from both Congress or the judiciary. Chevron deference was all about giving the experts at the agencies the ability to look at their own language, their own enabling statute, and interpret it. That is something that is fundamentally opposed to what the American experiment was initially. So this case, 40 years of precedent, it lasted longer than I have been on this planet. But what we saw in the Loper Bright case, and again, let me back up because it's a little bit legal nonsense. When Congress creates a law that enables a statute, enables an agency, they call it an enabling statute, and they look to the agency to interpret their own rules. For everyone on this call right now, when OSHA came out and said, we're going to mandate vaccinations, that's what they did. How did they try to do it? Through Chevron. OSHA looked at their statute and said, well, we think we have the power. And it wasn't until the Supreme Court of the United States stepped in and said, no, you don't have that power. If you want that power, go back to Congress, ask them for the power. So we do not know, so as a society, what overturning Chevron will do. We don't know yet. It's going to take years and maybe even decades to understand it. But what we do know is a very conservative majority within the Supreme Court has not used Chevron since 2016. So we are going to watch as time goes on. Perhaps Congress will have to be more specific in the power they give agencies. And if we don't like the outcome the agency comes up with, this is your chance to participate in democracy. This is what it's all about. So this case, it's very, very complicated, but it is a very important change in how our government interacts with us as individuals and as businesses.
So I want to follow that, Matt.
Thank you for sharing that, and go for it, Robert. What do you got?
I think this is important because I think most folks are used to seeing big, important decisions and assume there's an appeals process. In this, there is not.
It's over. Now, I will say this. There's a couple of things to keep in mind. So the real fight about this case was who gets to interpret the statute, the law that Congress passed. Is it the agency or is it the courts? And now the courts are going to do this. It went to SCOTUS, which is the Supreme Court of the United States. What they say is the law. Now, over time, you could get more like liberal justices in place, and they could overturn Loper Bright and go back to Chevron. Congress can go and act and say, we demand or we require the agencies to have deference. So I want people to understand that just because we've had this very, very significant change, it doesn't mean there's no ways to get around them or modify them over time. It's not stuck in stone. But it is a massively important case. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce has fought this thing since the very day that it was created 40 some odd years ago. So this is going to be something we're going to be watching in every single business for the next few years to see how changes develop.
So Matthew, you're saying this is the defining impact of administrative law going forward, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. For corporations to follow this, a 1984 starting case to today, boom, we're going to change behavior.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point you bring up. So who regulates businesses? Is it Congress? Not really. Is it state governments? To an extent. The regulations that businesses face are done through administrative agencies. Our industry is the FMCSA, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, given power through an enabling statute, modified over time. But what will end up happening is these agencies have been expanding their power. They've been grasping for more and more and more.
Kind of sounds like cancer.
Yeah, right.
What is our relationship with government? Should government be responsive to the people, or should government be responsive to industry experts who say they know better than we do? And it cuts both ways. There's a reasonable argument both sides. But as of right now, our Supreme Court is likely the most conservative court in over 100 years. They are deeply skeptical of the administrative agency world that we live in, where agencies really do everything when it comes to regulating businesses. It'll be fascinating to watch this unfold. And a couple of years, maybe last year, people were like, oh, the overturning of Roe is the most important case in our lifetimes. Roe is important. It's easy to understand that case. Loper Bright, overturning Chevron, manifestly more important, manifestly more interesting. So it's going to take some time for people to unpack really what's at stake here.
I do want to throw in the third piece of that, Matt. So you've got, does government work for people administrate? You also have to think about those who cut all the checks for the government. That's who really everybody answers to.
I mean, Congress loved this. I mean, to be perfectly honest, Congress is well known for saying we're going to go spend half our time raising money and the other half of our time is going to be spent just pontificating. The reality is Congress willingly gave up the authority to the executive branch and said, you take it, we don't want it. And so they could plausibly deny whatever government does. This isn't what I wanted, but I'm going to continue to be upset about it. We as a society gave these agencies enormous power, and the power is being slowly taken back.
Guys,
All
this
right,
is
Matt,
why
it's a lot of fancy words. I just got a question. Do we do Shell or 7-Eleven? Who do we go to now? Just
First
tell
of
me
all-
what I'm supposed to be getting at.
this is why
Because I'm confused. I don't need all the fancy lingo. Just tell me what
If
gas.
I'm
Tell me where to
Chevron,
go.
I am so
It's really
happy
better
that
for the
I'm no
engine.
longer the one that people think about with administrative law. To Mitch's point earlier, Chevron, that case in 1984, that was the pinnacle case of administrative law. That case is everything. It cited more than any other case in Supreme Court jurisprudence when it comes to the administrative agencies. So this is a watershed moment that'll take, again, years to unpack and understand what the impacts will be.
I think Judge Mantis could have solved this in a half hour, live on television, right? You get the whole thing in, including the post interviews at the end outside those doors.
I have a show I pitched a couple years ago called Freight Court, and I still have that domain, freightcourt.com.
That's
And
awesome.
I would love to do that. Like we get the devil brokers in, we get that. It would be so much fun.
Can we add this to the whole freight fight that just got launched on LinkedIn?
Oh man, there's a lot of drama on LinkedIn, folks. A lot of drama going on. Chevron, obviously, big announcement, moving from California HQ as Inception over to Dallas, right?
I think they're going to Houston, but you're right. They're going to Texas. And this move by Chevron was known many years ago. There was no reason for them to be in the Bay Area. Moving to Houston, where most of their offices already were.
Right.
But it is an interesting change of events.
It follows trends. It definitely follows trends. That's for sure. I love saying one phrase and just letting Matt go off. We're going to do that later in the show as well. We got more to talk about. It's going to be great. Speaking of shows, though, hey, a couple of announcements to throw out there today. Did you know that it is the 1-year anniversary of our friends over at the Logistics Lounge? Robert, aka Pedro Potato, and Hunter, those guys doing some great work over there. They're going to be part of the Broker Care Summit coming up. They've got a special celebration today. It's coming up at 4 p.m. Central Time right here on LinkedIn. So if you're not sure about it, make sure you go over and check them out. I think we have a graphic to put up about this that they're going to be doing. So 4 p.m. Central today time, they're going to have that. Let me see if I can throw it up. There we go. There it is. The Logistics Lounge birthday bash today at 4 o'clock Central. Make sure you check it out.
I'll be on
Good
there.
folks over there doing
I'll
some
be on
good
there
work.
too.
Yeah, a lot of good people going to be a part of that, but just good guys. I got to see these guys at Matt's, and I'm going to tell you what, man, just the salt of the earth kind of guys, good dudes. So congratulations to those guys doing that. Also, you guys may or may not have heard about this, but our good friends TJ Knutson and Tony Darnell are back with Hold My Beer. It's going to be on Fridays at 2 p.m. Central, or I'm sorry, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, right after this. So we're going to hand off the baton every Friday now to those guys. They're going to have a great show sponsored by McClay's Logistics. And today they got Eric Thornton on this show. So make sure you check them out right after this today. Excited to have them back. And then we might get a few dad jokes.
Detroit in the house there.
Detroit in the house. We may have to get a few dad jokes back. We get TJ to come back on the show and have a good time with that. So a lot of good things coming up. That's awesome. It is time for our segment, What's the Word? Sponsored by our friends over at Green Screens and Highway. let's talk about a couple things. First of all, it is Summer Olympics time. It's almost over. I think we need to play this video one more time about our attempts to make it to the Olympics, and then we're going to talk Olympics. Let's roll it. Maybe. Maybe I have I think the last one's my favorite, but I will say this. I know that Natalia, they put one up of her missing the golf ball, but when she hits the ball, she hits it very hard. She's very good at golf.
Crushed it.
All that.
Yeah,
crushed it when she
hit
hit
Natalia.
I am a little beefed that my hop over the
Juan
log.
wouldn't stand a chance against Natalia. Juan would get smoked.
Sorry, Juan. I know you're watching. Not a chance.
How was watching Scott's security camera of him walking into the house in Olympics?
What was you got to enter the field and leave the field. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
What's going into the locker?
Walking's in this year anyway. I saw it.
What's that, Tyler?
Texting and walking's in. I saw it this morning. 3 a.m. Olympics.
Oh my gosh, breakdancing is in. I mean, we got some crazy sports that are in this year.
First of all, you shut your little cute mouth about breakdancing. If you haven't watched that, there is a girl named Logistics who's fighting for America right now.
That's her name?
Should all be cheering.
That's her name?
Her name is Logistics. Oh yeah, they use names.
Wait, you name kids that?
You can name kids anything. That's the best part about America.
We need to work on getting an idea with her. We need somebody get her on the phone. Someone get her on the phone.
You're allowed to
get a word on the street.
There's a kid named 617, and she's from China. I don't even think they use those numbers.
The wrong area code.
You sure that's not just
oh my goodness.
That reminds me. Anybody see the picture of the American ping pong champions?
No, I thought you were going to talk about the dong photo. We have to talk about the French pole vaulter,
Yeah.
Scott.
It's
It's not horny time yet. A new segment that Trey's working on.
Just like all
horny time. He's going to talk about Matt's.
Oh, just wait, Kyle. We got it. Don't worry about it.
Oh, we got horny time coming up?
That's right.
That's a real segment? Oh, no. If it doesn't include this sexy beast's nipples on LinkedIn, then I'm out. It's not horny enough.
Well, I will say this.
This morning.
Juan doesn't stand a chance versus Natalia. We agree on that. That's for sure. I'm still a little beefed that my hop over the log made that. I thought that was a pretty solid hop. I didn't fall. I mean, I don't know why that was on there. That was good. I mean, the run up the wall, I get it. It took me a couple takes to get that. But the hop over the log was money. I don't know. So we'll have to move on that. Speaking of the Olympics, we do have a couple of things to share. I mean, this is pretty wild, Kyle, thinking about this. Oh, nice. How would you like to tell people that you missed out on medaling in the Olympics because package was a little big? Anybody like to say that message? I mean, that's pretty cool.
Why don't you guys come on this show and not in Paris right now? Why? Why do you think?
There are children present, it appears.
I know there are, but this is where we are in the show, Matt. This is where we are.
Trey went to youth camp this summer. He's allowed to talk to the kids. He's of age now with the kids. He went to youth camp, so he's
Robert.
Cool.
What do you got? Cool. Bang, go for it.
There's going to be a line in a movie or a TV show sometime in the next couple of years where someone's going to ask, one of the main characters, "Hey, how was your date last night?" Well, he would have been a terrible pole vaulter, but I had a good time. It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen. Earmuffs, everybody. Pretty wild. And Kurt in front of the hometown crowd. That guy's gonna be a hero in France. As a hometown
hero. He'll be popular. You're not wrong.
Well, popular. Maybe that's the right word for it. What are you gonna say, Jeff? What do you got?
Did you see the fast walker who thought that she won the gold medal, and she's going like this, like she's probably about 10 meters from the finish line, and this other one comes blowing right by her, and she goes,
Jeff, I need you to stand up and show us. Stand up and show us that. We need to see it.
Yeah, give us a little bit.
Stand up and just work it. Just come on.
Come on, do it for Daddy. Ooh.
Oh,
he's got a sex shirt on too. Jeff.
He's probably not wearing pants. That's why he's not doing it for you guys.
I'm not.
We're getting ready for Logistics Lounge, man.
Stand up.
Only.
I know you got to get ready for that. I know it's crazy. We've clearly we are Michael Lombard, a good friend, is keeping us up to date. We are leading in golds. We are leading in medals. Go USA, which is always great to hear.
Not golds anymore.
We're not leading golds anymore. That changed from yesterday?
I won yesterday.
That changed from this morning. China's won 2. We're at 30. They're at 32.
Oh, well, we got some work to do then. All right, Michael, I expect some updates, man. We got to.
Hey, there's a billboard off Interstate 55 in Chicago, just outside the city, heading to the burbs, and there's no advertisement for a company. Someone's sponsoring it, but it's just a video board of the medal count for the USA live every day. Yeah, and then, it's not even a Coca-Cola logo on the bottom. It's just the medal count. It's pretty cool when you pass.
Some person threw some money and said, "We're going to throw this up there." I love that. Got it. That's American.
Here we are, right here.
I don't live there anymore, but I still claim it, and I have to remind everybody. I'm sure everybody saw that the state of Texas, had it been a country, would be 6th in total medals.
Wow.
Yeah, leading the way for sure. Yeah, they got quite a few athletes in the Olympics. That's for sure.
Too.
Had a lot of good moments. Noah Lyles winning the 100 meter, which that was unbelievable. That was so close. Matt, I bet you love that being a sprinter.
I did. Everyone who finds sprinting interesting should check out the Netflix documentary that goes through some of the championship stuff.
What's the name of it? You remember?
Oh, I don't remember the name of it.
Somebody look it up. I didn't know that.
But I'll tell you, I was never that good, but I was a Division I track and field runner, and I did have some speed in the 400 meter dash, 100 meter dash. It is one of the most interesting things to see someone who spends all that time to get ready for 11 seconds, usually 10 seconds or 9 seconds.
9.5.
It's mind boggling. The level of expertise that has to go into those, just that unforgiving few seconds. And it's all about that.
Are we still in horny corner right now? What are we talking about?
I love track. My claim to fame, and Bane will appreciate this.
And stuff. Yeah, of course.
In 2003, I was 2nd in the 400 meter dash in the state of Illinois. So I love speed. I love
nice. That's awesome, man. It's such a fast race. It was so close. I mean, it's hard to tell. It's so hard to tell who won. It was just unbelievable how close that race was, and coming back to do that. We also won the 1500 meter, had a comeback in that. There were a lot of comebacks actually in several races. Matt had to warm your heart. Matt, did you ever think about running a race in high school or college with one of your fun costumes that you wore back in the day? Did you ever think about doing that?
No. My pre-race shirt was a SpongeBob SquarePants shirt, and I would usually kind of hum the music to myself as I did it. I never wore the costumes when I ran, but I would wear them at practice from time to time.
So let me ask you this question. You know how in baseball games, a lot of times now during innings, they got these competitions. They've got the ketchup, the mustard, the relish, or running around the field. Would you ever do that? Would you ever hop in one of those suits and try to win?
Someone should ask me to do that, because I absolutely would.
Would you be ketchup, mustard, or relish? Which one would you go with? Which one?
That's a good question. Probably horseradish.
Mayonnaise.
I prefer horseradish.
Something different.
Mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise. You think of slow mayonnaise. I don't know about that.
I don't know, Matthew. With that jacket, I think you're Dijon mayonnaise, like Grey Poupon, man. You're Grey Poupon with that jacket.
Do that. We can make that happen. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, that might have to be the case. Or being the guy who runs around the track and they let the fans start 100 yards.
I will destroy the fans. I will destroy every one of them.
What you guys don't know is that person and Matt have never been seen in the same room. So I think it might be Matt running that. I'm not sure. He might be the one doing that. So pretty crazy. Good stuff. All right. Wait, who's leaving? Everybody's waving. Is it out?
I'm leaving.
Rob's out of here. Rob's got to go work.
I just want to say hello and goodbye. So have a good weekend.
Hello.
See you,
Rob. Good to see you, my friend.
I was hoping this is the part where your internet connection goes down, Trey, and then we get to all have fun.
No, dude, I got new internet. Hey, listen, I'm on fiber now.
New internet.
Ooh,
We got AT&T fiber here. We cut the other one out, so if we go down now, it's probably a hardware issue, a computer or user error.
Explains why you've been looking at so much Twitter stuff lately.
I'm able to respond faster. It loads up. I mean, I can get through more posts,
I know what you're loading up. All right, I understand what you're talking about. I get you. Wink, wink.
All right, it's time for another phrase to set off our good friend Matt Leffler. This one is old school a little bit, but still very pertinent. Non-compete. What do you have to say about this? Where are we at with all this now? What's newest? What's the latest? Oh, we got paperwork. We got notes. Let's go.
This is the thing that I get excited about. 20% of working Americans have non-competition agreements. That's 30 million people. 30 million people are restricted from doing the thing that they're trained to do. In America,
2 people on this show. 2 people potentially on this show have one.
100%, absolutely. Mm-hmm. The thing to think about is we often kind of conflate our identity with what we do. And if you can stop somebody from doing something that they do, you take away something that they don't necessarily know they're giving up. The status of non-competes is really a story, same thing with Chevron. Actually, Chevron plays a very major part in understanding how the FTC ban will come out and be ultimately challenged. what we have, just in terms of a general kind of legal background, in January of 2023, the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, put out a proposed rule that would ban non-competition
agencies.
Yeah, one of the alphabets, absolutely.
Yeah.
So they put out a proposed ban that would affect every single non-compete in the country, except for probably the sale of businesses. Over 26,000 comments were made. The vast majority of those comments were against non-competes and in favor of the ban. We saw the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the American Trucking Associations, and many other big lobbying organizations make comments saying they will challenge any rule that's made. And eventually, come January of 2024, we do have a final rule. That final rule has been challenged in court. It is in litigation all across the country. The case that I held up here, this is the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's lawsuit that challenged the non-competition ban in Texas. And they got an injunction that would prevent the implementation of the non-compete ban. There are other courts that have also weighed in and said the ban is going to be okay. But really what we're faced with is, does the FTC have the authority to enter into the private contracts of 30 million Americans? Can the government come in and say, that contract, we're going to get rid of it? Can they do that? If Chevron was still in place, the answer, probably. But with Chevron gone, probably not.
So Matthew, on this is right around the corner, right? Isn't it early September? We go live on this. It goes into effect. Is that true?
No.
Right?
It will not.
Okay.
I saw a thing on Instagram from Elizabeth Warren talking about this. Others have been out there talking about this. The reality is, if you have a non-compete and you're thinking of changing jobs, or you've already changed jobs, you probably need to talk to an attorney. The states all have their own rules on non-competes, but this FTC ban, it is, in my opinion, very unlikely to be implemented in September. It will be litigated throughout this process. We may actually be in a situation where some federal circuits will allow the ban and some federal circuits will not. So Texas is the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. In Illinois, that's the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. You're going to have circuits that disagree. And eventually, I think this does make its way to the Supreme Court of the United States, and they will look at that and they will say, no, not a chance. So if you're thinking that the government's going to come and save you, let me exercise caution. Probably not going to happen. Congress can act. There is a thing in the Congress right now called the Workforce Mobility Act that would actually ban non-competes in the same way that the FTC is, but it couldn't be challenged the same way. So if you have a non-compete today, and that's 30 million people, you're probably going to keep it. It's probably not going to go away with this ban. I would love to see the ban actually be effectuated and be upheld on appeal, but we just don't know the answer to that. But with Chevron gone, I think there's a very real question of FTC even having the authority to enter this rule at all.
So if you lived in Minnesota, California, North Dakota, some of these other states where they already banned non-competes, has anything new happened there?
No. And so that's a great point you bring up. So states are the ones who typically put these bans or restrictions in place. In my home state, where I'm a licensed attorney, Illinois, you have to give someone 14 days to review the document. You have to include language that says, I've been told to consult an attorney. And if you don't do those things, that non-compete can be thrown out. There's also salary limitations. For those who don't know the world of non-competes, it's about 30 to 40% of people with them make under $20 an hour. This is not for executives. This is not for sales. This is for everybody. And so this is why I've used all my social media. What I've tried to do over the last few years is to just educate people on what these things are, because you're not going to get out of them if you sign them. I mean, maybe you can, but reality is, don't sign them. And if you don't know what they are, you're going to sign it. So I'm trying to advocate and entertain and educate people on what these things are all about.
Matt, I'm assuming that the companies that are challenging this, well, it's all companies. It's not individuals that are challenging this ban. It's all companies for the most part.
That's correct.
Can we get a website that lists all the companies that are doing this? That would be great.
That would be really, really neat. I mean, I think if you wanted to really get rid of non-competes in a way that would legally be enforceable, I think would be to make people have to disclose. You have to sign them as part of the hiring process. So the job description has to say what else you have to sign.
Non-compete required.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
You get benefits. You got to sign a non-compete. Yeah,
absolutely. These are the worst. So these things are called post-employment restrictive covenants. PERCs, perks. They're really kind of not perks of the job, but they're non-competes. Non-solicits, non-disclosures, non-disparagements, and then also these things called traps, training repayment agreement plans. So if you get trained by somebody, you can sue them and say, give me the money that I spent training you. They do that with dog groomers. They do it with people who do design work for outfits.
Wow.
Like it's bananas.
Yeah, that's wild. So not a lot of difference. If states do it, I think it sounds like if states implement these, they have a better chance of being upheld than the FTC.
Yeah, I think the FTC is overreaching. I think they're very similar. I mean, their thinking is we can make it more fair for people to make more money. You can become an entrepreneur. The FTC estimated that it's about $300 billion. That's billion with a B of revenue that people are not making because they have non-competes. Like, you want to go into the world of really tinfoil hat stuff. These things came out, they became prevalent after the Civil War. So you had a bunch of people who could now sell their labor. And in order to sell their labor, formerly enslaved people, they were signing contracts. It would say, you now are going to be paid, but you can't go 10 miles down the road and work for a competitor. You can't do that. That's where they come from. And they have penetrated every single industry in this country, from medicine to freight to anything. So they're very, very pernicious.
So what you're saying is that this all has its roots in insecure rich white men. Got it.
It's not a wrong way to look at it. I mean, they called them wage contracts. Like, just another quick fun caveat. The original non-solicitation agreements that came out, we all know about non-solicits. They weren't about you calling your former customers or your former coworkers. The non-solicits were in place to stop a competitive company from going to a worker and saying, come work for me, I'll pay you more. There were laws that said you can't go offer someone more money for the same work that they do. It is insane how hard it is to overcome these types of agreements. But today's non-solicits a little bit different than the old days. But the new non-solicits are don't call customers, don't call coworkers, don't call contractors.
Matthew, is it more aggressive in logistics because we're all in the supply chain space and we're just saturated in it? Or is pest control sales the same aggressive tactic?
Everything is. I mean, one of the lawsuits in Pennsylvania that challenged the ban, the ban was upheld in that case, but that was a tree trimming company, a landscaping company. So these things are in everything from janitorial work to medicine to nurses, doctors. They don't work on lawyers. We are actually kind of immune to them, though. If we work in house for somebody, and we can sign a non-compete.
Not for me. Got it.
Oh, we make the rules, baby. No one regulates us but us. We know what we're doing. But they're everywhere. I mean, they are as pernicious as they are pervasive. There is not a single industry in this entire country that doesn't have somebody or some group that is pushing non-competes. The reality is they think, how do I drive retention of my workers? Do I make a better job, better benefits, better pay? Or how about I just terrify them? Yeah, how I just terrify them with the threat of litigation. And if you read those comments, and I urge everyone to, if they have time to spend, it's depressing. It's people who are going bankrupt, who are moving. Why do you have medical deserts where someone has only one hospital chain and you can't find a general practitioner? This is a non-compete. So those guys and gals just leave the rural market and go back to some place where they can work. They're everywhere.
Hey, Mr. Smart Lawyer, athletes have competes all the time. So you can't say there's an industry that doesn't have non-competes, dummy. Get real.
I think it's a good piece to say. Like, when you work for somebody, you can do a non-compete during the time that you're there. When you leave, you shouldn't have to be bound by something you gave up without knowing it. You would never date somebody and say, hey, I really enjoyed our time together, but I don't think we're going to work out. How about we go our separate ways? And by the way, you can't date anyone else in my friend group or anyone who looks like me or sounds like me. It's just
that sounds like a good idea.
You guys didn't do that.
It's clean, so you're not making your case.
Wait a minute. What? You didn't do that?
Yeah. All right, one more question on this. How many uneducated logistics folks hear this news and say, I get to bring my customer book to my next company, right? And just confuse the whole thing altogether.
A lot of people conflate the non-solicit and the non-compete. The non-compete at the end of the day is a geographic restriction for a period of time with a described business. So those are the three pieces. It's the geography, the length, and then what it is you can't do. The non-solicit is not about geography. It is about specific entities, customers, employees, contractors, and then you reaching out to them. You can still do your craft. You can't reach out to them. The challenge becomes in the non-solicitation case is you're trying to make sure that if someone reaches out to you inbound, you can take that, you can work in that, but you might have to prove to your former employer, hey, they reached out to me first. Here's a copy of the DM. Here's a copy of my phone. If I were a lawyer representing a company, I think that you might have solicited. First, I send you a letter to you and your new company. I threaten to sue both of you. Once you don't respond or you don't adequately respond, I sue you. And then I subpoena all your cell phone records, all your social media records, and you can't stop me because I'm not going to you. I'm going to the providers and I'm pulling that data. And I will find out if you're messing with my former customers. So it is a very dangerous thing to be in. And oftentimes the fees get shifted. So if I beat you, you pay for me. So I can bankrupt you if you violate my non-solicit or my non-compete.
Yeah. Yeah. That's scary to think about
question on that note. Why do we not see the exploitation of truck drivers with non-compete, non-solicits? Because it seems like a not fraudulent, but a bad actor in the trucking world would do this to all the truck drivers, since turnover and the movements of drivers are always going company to company. Why is that not a thing?
So they have tried that. They've done it with mechanics. They've done it with drivers. They litigate those things from time to time. It is very difficult for the skilled trades to have non-competes in that context. But if you're management, it's easy to enforce those things. So traditionally with the truck driver world, you don't see as many non-competes. Though I will say we saw an interesting case a couple of years ago when an owner-operator had essentially a non-compete where he couldn't haul for competitive trucking companies. And when he ended up suing on that, they said that driver was an employee, not a contractor. So it does happen with the drivers, but not nearly to the level we see with the brokers and the salespeople, the office staff that have really important customer-facing relationships.
And I think the asset trucker has something. Obviously, they don't have the non-compete, but the trucking companies know when that driver's leaving or flirting with other companies with 10th Street, right? They're going to get an inquiry of the previous history of the previous company. That's the number one indicator the driver's on his way out, right? So there's other avenues.
Once the wage garnishment comes through for the truck driver, then you're like, oh, he's going to leave now because now we got the garnishment order. That's one of the games that you see when you're.
I want to hit on one thing you mentioned, Matt. So with the non-solicits and I think Mitch, you brought up bringing the book of business with you, right? If anybody says they can bring their book of business with them, and they do, understand as soon as they get caught, they're leaving, and so is that business. I know there's a lot of places out there that are looking for a come up. I think we're going to get some sales guy, get this $10 million book of business, and everything's going to be hunky dory. No, you are setting yourself up for failure, and it is going to be catastrophic for your business.
But Robert,
those same people
post-COVID, I hear that from salespeople all the time. I have a book of business I can bring. Even if they had the confidence of the relationship, even if it was this college roommate, procurement is not letting new vendors into the company right now. Or you see what I'm saying? There's so many hurdles now to make that happen versus a couple.
Even if they are letting new providers in, they bring in a new provider. Awesome, yay! So you're telling me now you're going to go and undercut the rates that you were making money on to get those lanes,
right,
with your previous employer, and then you're going to have the same service? Get fucked! No, you're not.
Yeah.
From
an enterprise perspective, those shippers want to see that new salesperson's home simmer out for a minute, make sure it's stable and safe before anything happens anyway, right? So
correct.
So I got a question here, right? So if you bring in
Put your sunglasses back on when you ask a question around here.
Yeah, your eyes look great.
Let the man ask a question.
Damn,
no, today. Matt, you're a guest here. This is an internal thing. Jeff, put your sunglasses on.
You always get harassed, you know?
Listen, Jeff, go ahead, please.
Children, this is your dad speaking. Okay? So if you bring in your own
grandfather,
client, it's yours that you brought into a brokerage, right? You built the relationship. Why did they take ownership of something that you brought in? Now, I can see the other way around. While you're working for a brokerage and you bring somebody in new, that's theirs.
For hire.
Because you got them underneath their roof. But if you bring somebody in that you've done business with for 10 years.
This is a very, very important thing. And I talk to so many of my clients about this. If you get a non-solicit when you go to a new company and you bring your former book of business, that belongs to the new company. It doesn't matter if you had that relationship initially. It doesn't matter. No one cares that you had it before. What you do is you get a lawyer or you just do it yourself and you write out the names of the people who are not going to be included in that non-solicit. You say, these 10 entities are not part of this. And you can do that. You can negotiate these things. So that is the strategy that you do. If you go in the mindset of, I will just assume they belong to me, and I'm not going to specifically call them out in the contract, and if I leave, they're going to follow me. Maybe they do. Maybe they call you and say, I want to work with you, because that doesn't violate non-solicit. But if I'm your former employer and I don't know that the customer reached out to you, I'm not going to trust you. I'm going to sue you, and I'll figure it out. I'm not going to believe anything that you say. So your point is very well taken. If you have a book of transferable business, call it out in the documents. The reality is, effective salespeople, great salespeople, all you get to do when you hire one of us is you get to rent my contacts for a period of time that I give you, and then I leave. So the reality is, like, we have to be very cognizant of what risk we take on. And if you're thinking about leaving a job, you should talk to an attorney and say, here's what I have. Here's what I think I want to do. Because the other thing I'm going to mention just before I wrap that piece up is your new hiring entity, your new employer, is going to require you to disclose any post-employment restrictive covenants. If you don't show me the documents, the minute I see a cease and desist letter, I am firing you. The minute I get it, you're done. You're toast. So we have this really weird world where we're all walk with a scarlet letter of a non-solicit, a non-compete, or wherever else we might have.
What he said.
Yeah. Love to hear that, man. That's so good. All right, we got to pause for a second here. We got a new segment on this show today that we got to jump into, and we're going to have a little bit of fun with that. Something we've been trying. Before we do that, I got a question. Hey, Bane, what's the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth?
How much budget you got?
All right, Bane, I turn this over to you, my friend. Turn it over to you. We got a special segment, a little tinfoil hat segment. I was going to say that along with about 6 months. That's the difference between a conspiracy theory. Yeah. This seems like something like that. All right.
Well, like I said, you got enough budget, man. You can stretch out a disease for 3 years.
Bane, you are running the show. You are in the driver's seat. Go for it.
All right, here we go. So this is tinfoil chats. So as many of you know, I love conspiracy theories. And
what? No.
Yeah, who would know, right?
No way.
So
you just love the truth.
Thank you.
There you go.
So the movie Frozen is actually a red herring. So if you think back, if anybody has heard this urban legend, is Walt Disney is actually cryogenically frozen on the grounds of Disney World in Orlando. Because this started gaining a lot more traction in the early 2010s because a former employee claimed they saw Disney. They made this movie so that when you look up Disney Frozen, it now pulls the movie and not anything about him. You have to look up Disney cryogenically frozen or Walt Disney cryogenics. It fucked up the algorithm for Google. So now this always pulls. They also intentionally built all of the Easter eggs into the different movies. So it takes you down the rabbit hole of the Disney princess realm versus seeing if Walt Disney is cryogenically frozen at Disney World.
How many people are searching cryogenically frozen Disney right now?
It's going to skyrocket right now.
It's going to skyrocket. Yeah. The thousands of people that are watching this are going to all jump on Google and
our tens and tens of viewers.
How come Bane's glitching like the Matrix as he's explaining this? What's the deal with
that? Because Disney's following him. It's a technology business.
What's that, man? You're glitching, bro.
Listen, man, you take the red pill and it starts fucking with everything.
Bane got Trey's Wi-Fi.
Or maybe it's I took the red needle.
All right, so we're going Frozen. The movie is a red herring, and where does this lead? What kind of rabbit trails does this head down? What other things has Disney put out that has been to distract or to kind of overcome some of these things? What else?
There are Easter eggs in
Frozen 2.
Kyle, genius. Frozen 2.
There it is.
There it is, right there.
Oh no!
It is on the internet. It's
That's the
true.
whole thing. We want just the head.
Futurama is a documentary. It seems
exactly.
How many? So here's just a question that has nothing to do with Disney. How many people are cryogenically frozen today?
Like billions and billions and billions.
Not enough, maybe.
Billions spelt with a B.
Yeah, with a B.
Matt, you taught us spelling today. Remember?
I love it.
Yes.
That's interesting. Oh, Connick's in the
Oh wow, Morgan, you can spell cryogenic, okay? Yeah, flexing on her face right now.
Okay, to be fair,
Disney
I
Frozen.
did provide some articles when we were getting ready for the show because you do a little bit of research for this stuff. Many of my conspiracy theories are not safe for work. We'll get to those at a different time.
There's 500 people that have been frozen that way total. 200 of them are in one facility in Arizona.
How many are walking today?
500 total have gone through this process. 200 of them are all together at a facility in Arizona.
I don't think they've ever brought someone back from this.
done.
Huh?
It's tinfoil cap talk. I figured I'd ask.
What's the cost? What's the cost to do that?
If you have to ask, you can't afford it.
$4.99 a month.
It's about $350.
Hey Jeff, if you have to ask, this is not the country club for you, buddy.
Wait a second, yeah. Guys. I think Jeff's actually interested. Jeff, do you want us to look into this for you? Morgan knows how to spell cryogenics.
I got one.
Only if he can be frozen with his hat on. That's the only way this is going to work. Is if that.
I already had that.
Well, it's a package deal. It's a package deal.
Listen, Jeff. I bought a Frozen outfit for my daughter for Halloween.
That's
the closest I can get for you.
Coming in. No conspiracies. They're all wrong because I made them. The liberal lizard media wants you to believe that conspiracy theories. It is not. I made them. I made them all up. They're mine. I made them. They all happened. True story. Jeff doesn't want to see it.
I think we got matching bottoms.
Walks away.
Time, baby.
The kid's funny. The kid is funny.
Shane Gilpin wannabe right there. I love it. That's so good. You know, my first interaction with Frozen was standing in a line at Disneyland with about 20 other dads waiting to meet Anna and Elsa so the girls could do that. All the moms.
Ready to meet Walt Disney?
Well, he was not there when we were there. But
are you sure?
Did you meet him?
Well, he was. I did not meet him. I did not see him when I was there. How about I'll say that? I did not see him.
What about Elsa?
We did meet Elsa and Anna. Yes, we did. That's right.
That's good.
Yeah, we have pictures. Yeah, it was great.
Were your daughters in this picture?
Yes, they were. They were. Yeah, it was like a row of dads. There were about 20 dads in the line waiting. It took about 2 hours, and then you would just text your wife when it was close, and the kids would come, and you'd go in there. It was just like
cocktails in.
There should have been, and there should have been a TV with some sports playing. I mean, they could definitely make it better. But it was 2 hours.
But you were so excited about meeting Elsa and Anna, right?
I mean, I was. But I'm talking about the other 19 dads. And the other dads there, they needed something. I mean, I was reciting the show.
Anna's got no powers. Anna's stupid in terms of that.
Yeah.
She does nothing.
Thing about
she just kind of gets in the way.
We actually got outfits for our daughters. We got an Anna and Elsa outfit for our daughters at the time. They were 6 and 4, and they were going to wear them. My youngest refused to wear Anna. She's stupid. So she wore Elsa and my oldest wore Anna. And then we were going to switch them the next day. And then my youngest just refused. She just didn't wear it. She wore normal clothes. So you're right. Anna has no powers. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about that. So
no one cares.
All right, Bane. So do you have any other conspiracies to run down? How is this going to work in the future? This is like a once a month thing I think we're going to do.
Yeah, so this will be like a once a month thing. I want to make sure that these are going to be something that people can possibly share. I've got some conspiracy theories that I can only tell in person.
Who the hell am I going to tell about this Frozen thing, bro? Who am I telling this to? Who am I sharing?
I'm trying to keep ourselves on the air. I'm trying to keep myself somewhere. No, we're going to do this once, twice a month, and we won't tell everybody when it's coming. We're just going to pop it in, but the beta team's going to know.
We need to run some social and get some people to give us their favorite, conspiracy theories, so we can potentially vet them out, maybe even highlight them on the show.
I think the next one I'll do is probably that COVID was not about a disease, but it was about rich white men and dick rockets. That's probably the next one we'll do.
Can I suggest one? Can you do that? You and Trey didn't share a bed in Vegas for.
That's well known. That's documented. It's
the truth.
Yeah, Google search that. See what comes up.
I believe it's conspiracy. I believe it did happen, and I've got documents to prove it.
All right, we'll have to talk about that, on another show, another episode. This is Tinfoils right here on Word on the Street. All right, Matthew Leffler, listen, it is time for another phrase. Just have a little fun. Well, last one to finish the show. Truck maintenance.
Let's go.
Truck maintenance. Hey, here's an interesting fact. ATRI came out with a report that said that it costs 7% more to operate a truck than it did in 2023. 7% up just from 2023. ORs have got to be tanking. It's got to be so difficult to keep a truck profitable. How are all these trucks staying on the road? It's the stupid banks. That's what it is. They're not taking their trucks back. Matt, I'll let you run. Go for it. Truck maintenance, my friend. Let's go.
The thing that people need to understand, and I think very few people that are outside of this industry have any concept of this, is that 1 in 5 commercial vehicles, when inspected, are out of service, unsafe at any speed. 20% of all commercial vehicles on the road now, right now, is unsafe. They are unsafe. And
how many? How many? What's the number?
Well, percentage, there's about 2 or 3 million Class 8 trucks, but you go 7 and 6s and you get trailers, you're probably looking at about 11 million assets out there, maybe more.
Think about that, folks. Just think about that number.
2.2 million vehicles.
We as an industry do not maintain our equipment properly. We talk about tort reform. We talk about nuclear verdicts. When you think about the fact that motor carriers carry, generally speaking, the minimum statutory requirement of $750,000, a number, I might add, that was put in place in 1980 and not adjusting for inflation. And then you have 20% of those vehicles unsafe. That is absurd. If I was a grocery store selling you milk and I had 5 gallons of milk and I say, Trey, I have 5 gallons of milk for you, but one of them is unsafe. And you'd say, Matt, first of all, do you know which one? And I would say, no. And you'd say, well, I choose not to buy that milk. I would say that's not the option. The option is you choose one of the 5
gallons
gallons
good stuff
of
with
milk.
spoiled milk. You can do some good stuff with spoiled
It's a bad example.
Robert itching to talk about the poultry industry right now.
The thing that should make everyone very, very concerned is we are moving freight at numbers below the operating cost of the truck. The only way you do that is by deferring maintenance. I remember attending a business meeting and talking to the FMCSA and asking them specifically, is this number acceptable? Should we be okay with 20% of commercial vehicles being unsafe? And their answer was, we believe that the fatalities on the road are a result of driver negligence and driver behavior. That being said, we don't want any fatalities, and we probably ought to think of something else. I have said, and I'm on record saying this, the DOT should mandate 2 inspections a year, not 1. And that would be a massive change. If you look at what Old Dominion or Pitt, Ohio, or other big motor carriers are doing, they're not looking at those assets once a year. They're not doing that. They look at them most of the time, if you're an LTL, at least quarterly. If you're an over-the-road trucking company, maybe 6 months.
Well,
but
Matt,
this is the world we live in.
That's a national maintenance infrastructure setup. The guy hauling fresh produce out of McAllen has 1 truck, right? And so not making any excuses, but a mid-sized carrier that has in-house maintenance in-house, right? That has a diesel 1, diesel 2, diesel 3 mechanics employed in their own deal can keep up with it. But how does the small owner operator, what does maintenance cost? 15 to 20 cents a mile, $15,000 to $20,000 a year per truck, right?
I love that question, because what we really look at is this is the impact of deregulation in 1980 to allow an army of new motor carriers to come in and come out all the time. There is not, but there should be a practice where every single motor carrier, especially the small fleets, have a maintenance escrow account where any revenue they take, a portion, probably 10%, but a portion of your revenue goes into that account and is accessible for maintenance. Now, you can do a lot of work procuring maintenance more effectively. Small motor carriers can be just as good as JB Hunt or FedEx if they spend the time to say, let's find a good vendor to do this for me. Let's make sure the mechanics are qualified to do the inspections, and let's not do an oil change every 3 months or 6 months and say that's an inspection. It's not. A PM on a Class 8 truck is 3 hours. It is 2 hours. It is an hour for dropping the oil.
In-house, it's 3 hours, right? The problem is this. If I have 10 trucks, I can't afford an in-house maintenance program.
Of course.
Relying on a third party, Ride or Penske. I only have 10 trucks on my account against Bimbo Bakeries that's got 5 million. So it takes 4 days to get that 3 hour PM when that third party has to do it. It's disrupting my entire business. Do you see what I'm saying from that perspective? So if everything was perfect, that's amazing. But when you're relying on third parties to do these, you're on their schedules, and it just disrupts the absolute core of the trucker.
Ask any owner operator, do you ever try to schedule your service a month out? Almost none of them do that. If I'm a shop, I ran an independent shop. I had over 150 mechanics. If I got a call from a motor carrier saying, hey, I would like to schedule a service for my asset, I'd say, when? They say, in 3 weeks. Yes, I will have the bay ready. I will have your filters in stock. I will do this immediately because I'm a fleet maintenance guy. There is no excuse. There is no excuse to have 20% of commercial vehicles unsafe. There's no excuse. It's absurd.
Get 'em.
If you want to stop nuclear verdicts, you want to save people's lives, maintain your stuff. If you can't maintain it, you shouldn't own it. This is why I'm so excited about autonomous trucks, because autonomous trucks cannot have a 20% failure rate. It will not work. They must run like airlines, like the airlines that are really well run. You can't have equipment fail. Safety is everything. And if we don't maintain our stuff right, we as an industry can't shake our hands and say, oh, these plaintiff attorneys are just too aggressive. When I was a plaintiff attorney and I wanted to go after a motor carrier, I can destroy you, because all I have to do is say, what's your maintenance process? How do you deal with driver write-ups? And I get access to your documentation. I can then show the pattern and practice of your inability to do this industry.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you walk in the courtroom like Gandalf and say, you shall not pass.
I mean, if I were to say that the things that would save our industry in terms of maintenance and repair, do 2 inspections mandated every single year, raise the minimum insurance from $750,000 to $2 million, and watch as the carrier capacity evaporates. And you know what? That's probably the right outcome.
A good thing. That's right. That's right. Well, we're going to end the show with this. We got to get out of here. We got to get out of here for the show today. But Matthew, I'm so glad you said that. You know, John said earlier, if his daughter got in an accident, he'd do the same thing. Somebody as a child driving, I feel that way. I tell my kids to take care of the drivers, the truckers on the road, give them space, give them room. I've taught that. Truckers, take care of the rest of us on the road. Take care of your equipment. It's time for us to flip it over to Hold My Beer to TJ and the guys. We'll see you guys next week right here on World on the Street. Matt, thanks so much for joining. Tyler, come back and see us.
Will do.
See you guys later. Peace out, everybody.
Friday.